Hi guys, welcome back to Street Riders. Today we've got an XT1200Z Super Tenere. Wait to the end of the video to hear the exhaust noise, but for now we'll pass you over to Jay.
Hi guys, my name's Biker Jay. Welcome to sort of the review today. I'm just going to be looking over the Super Tenere and kind of giving you my initial impressions with it all. This is a 2015 Yamaha XT1200Z Super Tenere. This has been the facelift version from ones that were produced pre-2014, 2015. Now this bike is second hand. It's done about 13,000 miles on the clock with a full service history. I spent just shy of £7 on the bike. Let's not talk about the extras just yet. I don't like that sort of price tag. From new, I've went through to dealers about 2018 version, and you are talking about that sort of 10, 11 grand, and then obviously newer you go, the higher it gets. Now the reason for this bike and why I love this bike so much is I've gone through multiple bikes, from naked to big touring, sports touring, so I really wanted an adventure bike, and the reason for this is probably where we are today. I want to go off-road and still have the availability to tour with ease and comfort. So this really was and is still my loved bike, and ticking all the boxes. Now, first of all, as any man, I'm all about the power. Now this, I'm not gonna lie, has a very manageable power set. Now I use the word manageable very uniquely. This bike is 112 brake horsepower, pushing its 117 Newton meters of torque. Now, to benefit from this, it has two different modes. You're talking touring mode and sports mode. Now, touring mode actually gives you a really big flexibility with the throttle. It's very easy. You go through the gears in eco mode. There is, again, for this sort of terrain, power isn't necessarily your friend, so it's very relaxed and it's very comfortable. Flick that button to sport though, and sport mode is a whole different story. What I would initially describe it as, unfortunately, is quite a snappy throttle. When you are lower down in the first and second gears, unless you are really opening it up, it's very hard to keep a steady pace at the 20s, 30s and sometimes even 40s. You flick it into sport and this thing wants to go. Now, of course, I am very aware that it's not going to be making your sports bike, power or the looks of it all, but for me, I'm still able to keep up with friends on a progressive ride at the weekend. So this really is a one bike, does it all for me. With the facelift version, and one of the instruments that I will really highlight is the cruise control that isn't in the previous versions. Cruise control for me, I've never had a bike that has cruise control before, and I can't stop using it. So again, with everything that all I've got on here, attachments wise, it makes it perfect for touring. So one of the weirdest things about this bike, now you probably can't see them very well, but actually the tyres. Front tyre is a 19-inch 110 size tyre. Now the rear is a 17-inch and it's only 150. So for me, that's actually quite a very small width of a rear tyre. Now I don't know how they do that, and again, I'm not questioning Yamaha's sort of research and development here, but for me it works wonders. Now again, these are spoke wheels, but they are tubeless, and for me that was what I chose over having a Africa Twin, or even the Tenere 700. Now that was a very, very close competitor here, and for me that front wheel, I think it's a 21-inch, was just too big. It wouldn't work for me on road as well as I hoped, and this was going to be a touring machine, so I really needed a bit of everything. I've got to compromise in some areas, but every areas I've absolutely excelled in. So starting at the front, you see there's a twin disc at the front, single disc at the rear, being ABS. The brakes are very reasonable. They're not your top performers, but they're very reasonable. You haven't got a switchable ABS. Unfortunately, that doesn't come with this bike. However, there is a trick on the forums. Put it on the center stand, rev it up to your first and through to your second gear, absolutely rev it, and what will happen is then the ABS will turn itself off. Now, have I tried that? No, because I like the way it is. I don't want to start messing with any electronics of it all. But speaking about electronics, this bike here has, as I said, the driving modes. You've got the traction control. That is either 1, 2 or off. As I said, I've always had it on 1 because at the moment we've had it where it's been wet, sludge, rain, it's been horrible riding conditions, but that's why traction control is there. One of the best things about this dash is it has 3 adjustable modes. Now these 3 modes on the right hand side are your information, and you can customize it. So for example, you can say whether you want to see the air temperature, the coolant temperature, the odometer, the trip meter, the average fuel that you're doing, the fuel left in your tank. Now that gives you as a rider the ability to know what you want to choose. And again, you have 3 further options as the main menus, so you can really show all the information that you want. Now all of these are done using the menu and arrow on the left hand side console, so it's nice and easy to use. Now let's have a talk about the suspension on here. Now what I've really found is, being a bigger guy, I've had to adjust most suspensions when I get on bikes. Now this is an upside down fork suspension here. I think it's about 43 millimeters of travel. Now this has got adjustable damping, compression, etc. But what's really impressive is the rear. The rear has an adjustable lever that you can choose between 6 settings between hard and soft. So for me, I don't have to whack out the spanners, I don't have to whack out the tools, I can simply adjust it depending on what terrain I'm on. So kind of relating back to the power situation, or potentially lack of, depending on where you sit. Now this bike is a quarter mile of 12.1 seconds, so it's not, as I said, it's not the fastest in the bunch, but that torque is where it matters. You are talking about 131 miles per hour top speed, so again, I'm not going to be competing with any sports bike riders. Now what you'll see here, and what I've paid out when I spoke about those accessories. Now I'm not going to give you prices because I don't want to cry. Essentially what I've done after paying the initial lump for the bike, we had some accessories that were included with the purchase. So we are talking panniers. Now these are the Jivy hard panniers. Unfortunately I don't have them today, but they did come with the purchase, and I like the look of the rack personally because I know evidently when this is going to go down, that's going to be here to support it. What also came with it, now we've got some lovely crash bungs here, and actually you may not be able to pick up, but the previous owner has got highway pegs on them. Now I've used them once, and it's a very obscure feeling to use highway pegs on an adventure bike. I'm sure they'll come in useful someday. They have got a brake line cover as well, and it's just a little thing that I know for the sense of security, if I am taking it off-road, that those won't be broken or damaged. I have protection there. Coming across to the bottom, as I said before, is that Jivy bash plate. Now that is very important. If you saw the original bash plate that this came with, it's a piece of plastic that barely covers anything. What you should be focusing on is that oil filter. Now that oil filter is very vulnerable when you are going off-road or even taking it around the UK roads. Any stone chip and it's going to ruin your day. So what I highly recommend, they are about £120 or plus or less depending on what you get, but easy to install, simple, bolt it on, and it does a world of protection. Again, I'm a bit of a lazy man, and it's also easier to clean the bash plate rather than all the headers and everything underneath. Coming up from the side here, now I've gone full adventure spec in what I wanted and what my needs were. We've got a Kappa adventure bag, small tank bag, easy clip-on, clip-off situation. And again, this just goes around with me wherever I'm off on a calf, or most likely a pub. You can get various different bags. I've got a bigger one for when I'm going to be doing my touring. Coming the left hand side here, you see the Bark Busters, 100% a good purchase for me. Adventure spec double take mirrors. Now these mirrors are actually controlled by a ball mount that you tighten and loosen. So for me, full adjustability, and when I'm going off-road, I know they're not going to get damaged, and if they do, they're just going to fold in. What I've then moved on to is sort of the front hand side. I've got my Pug touring screen. Now this is great, especially when it's cold. That wind absolutely divides itself for you, so it's absolutely perfect. Does it look a bit chunky and a bit tall? Yes, in my opinion, but does practicality outweigh the looks of a bike? At the front as well, headlight covers, very important. Any stone chips, damages, I want them to be protected. I don't want to have to buy a whole new headlight. At the front I have got a fender extender and also my fork guards as well. Now fender extender is something that I bought and put on myself. It's not silly hard to do. but hugely required because that dirt really does start to pick up and hit the bash plate and of course your headers, and we all know how hard headers are to clean. And what else have I put on as the tank pads? Now the tank pads at the bottom were already on at the point of purchase. I've added the top ones here because when you are standing up on the bike, these do absolutely give nothing for worth of grip. So these are required to lock your knees in when you're taking such a heavy bike off-road. Now the tank itself is 23 litres. Now you are pushing, at the moment, or what I've recently found, you drive like little Miss Daisy and you can easily get 300-350 miles to the tank. Now, being an adventure bike, you very much get that stereotypical, it's a heavy bike, it's a tall seat, I won't be able to ride it. Now, this is a heavy bike. This wet is 260 kilograms. Now, think about all the mods that have been added on, you know, the cage here, the bash plate, the other bungs. You know, you are going to have maybe a 275, 280 kilogram bike. But seat height, again, is very important. Seat height is fully adjustable. Now that's one of the best things about this Super Tenere, is the fact that with your key you can undo the seat. There is a square rubber that all you need to do is flip over, and that switches between the high and low seat. It means that with the lower setting I'm able to comfortably put both feet on the ground. Again, this is very important with being such a heavy bike, but you need to have the stability when you are lugging this thing around the garage or a car park, or even when you're, let's be honest, taking it off-road. At the end of the day, I bought this because it's my all-in-one. It's my commuter, my off-roader, my tourer, my weekend ride. I've got this because for me, it's sort of jack of all trades, master of none. I wouldn't say it's perfect in one area, but also I would say it's capable of doing everything. Now the lights are standard bulbs, they don't have LEDs, but there's one thing that I do love is they take the angel eyes off the beautiful R1 Big Bang. So problems with the Super Tenere. Now I've experienced it myself. When you are turning this bike on and off, now that's whether it's due to off-roading, moving the bike or anything like that, this bike likes to be turned on and it likes a good run-in before being asked to turn on and off again. So it's not necessarily a diagnosed problem, but it is something to be aware of. When you're using this bike, turn it on, have a long ride and turn it off. Just try and avoid turning it on and off too much. So guys, I want to say a massive thank you to Steep Riders for taking their time to come and visit me in my own home ground, to take a lovely video for you guys, because if you want to buy one of these are the types of videos that really help you give an owner's impression and really a true understanding and honest opinion of the bike. So thank you so much for them. A massive well done for what they're doing, and I will see you guys in the next video.